Okay, great. Thanks. Well, thanks everyone. It's interesting just hearing about all your backgrounds. I feel like I've done some work or touched on some of the areas of your work, whether it's development or a couple of people here in development, energy management, even land-based aquaculture. I did a project with Marine Harvest and a coalition of nonprofits that were trying to get a land-based aquaculture project off the ground probably about 5 years ago. It didn't get off the ground, but I'm really happy to hear that they're happening. So that's really great. So I'm just here today to share a little bit of my own experience as a small business owner. As Leah said, I do like to share my own experiences because it was really hard for me as well, and so if I can help it be a little bit easier for other people or share some of my experiences, I love to do that. So I'll just refer to my notes if you don't mind. Why sustainability is important to me. My background is actually in government and politics. So I started my career, I got a poli-sci degree from SFU, and was really passionate about politics and changing the world. And ended up moving to Victoria and worked for the BC government in a variety of roles for 8 years. And I had a lot of environmental interest, or what I call anxiety, as a child. I don't know if anyone can relate to that, but I browbeat my parents into recycling and composting, and like the generation before who was worried about the nuclear holocaust, for me it was I had a lot of anxiety as a child about environment, and so it really drove me and my personal interest in sustainability. So from a professional perspective, however, my first introduction to a more corporate or business approach to sustainability in all its forms. So I was mentioning to Cynthia earlier, financial, social, environmental sustainability. I have a holistic definition for that as well, was when I worked for Vancouver Credit Union. I started working there in public affairs in 2000, and it was a whole new world for me. I didn't even know that CSR, corporate social responsibility, not as a frequent used a term as it used to be, but it was a whole new world for me. A revelation, and so I got to work with some extraordinary people that were doing extraordinary work. And Vancity introduced, around the time I was there, something called, you might not even know they have this, but it's called the Statement of Values and Commitments. And it was a community consultation, staff consultation. They put together these values that would guide how Vancity does business. And it was at that time that I started to acquire what I would call the language of sustainability and values-based business. Vancity used to have a catchphrase that they don't use that much anymore, but I use it all the time in my own business, that we live our values in how we do business. And so that's really helped me define how I approach what I do. So in my own business, I guess the most obvious way that I live my values and apply sustainability is in the clients that I choose. My typical clients, I've talked to a couple of you already, are mid-size companies, local companies in Vancouver, and larger nonprofits, a lot of environmental nonprofits, many of whom you may have worked with. I was thinking about, when I was hearing you talk about, one of my clients is Climate Smart Business. So they work with companies to help them reduce their carbon footprint through their operations. I've worked with the David Suzuki Foundation on a couple of different projects. One was more of an advocacy project, Blackout Speak Out. I don't know if any of you remember that, or environmental organizations nationwide went dark on a single day to protest the federal government's attacks on the environmental sector. But I also work with businesses that aren't necessarily setting the world on fire. They're doing good work day to day. Accountants, and I do work with some developers. Definitely developers that are devoted to green, sustainable building, but also to social sustainability, because that's really important to me as well. So I have criteria in terms of who I work with. They do the values check when I get the phone call. Those, of course, I need to make a living as well, so that's an important part of my decision-making process as well. But what I find, and I suspect those of you who are consultants or entrepreneurs, you feel the same way. I love the personal connection that I have with my clients. That is actually what makes it rewarding for me. And so if I can work with clients whom I believe in what they're doing, I'm invested in their success on a personal level. I was talking to somebody about one of my projects, and Cynthia, and she said, wow, you're really passionate about that. And it's true. If I believe in what I'm doing, I can get behind it. It's a much more rewarding experience for me as a business owner, as a consultant. And you create a relationship, talking about sustainability in a broader sense. If you have a relationship with your clients, they become invested in your success as well. So it helps the financial sustainability of your business, because they want to help you reach your goals as well as you helping reach theirs. I wanted to talk a little bit. I'm going to jump around a little bit, but feel free to ask questions about some of my clients. I work with Vancouver farmers markets. So what I do with them is I help them to tell their story and get it in front of the right people. I'm meeting with them later today. They have in-house communications folks, but what they need is someone to guide their overall strategy. And so what for me, what I get out of it is that I know that they're working to make, you were talking about sustainable food systems, food security, right? And supporting, I don't know if you guys know this, but over 6,000 acres of local farmland is kept in production every year because of Vancouver farmers markets. They bring over $8 million in direct and indirect benefits to the Vancouver economy. So it's great to be able to tell some of these stories that are not just feel good, I feel good about shopping at the farmers markets, but it's actually good for our local economy and helping to get that message out to the public. We've done a lot of work with First Nations organizations as well, including those that are working towards environmental sustainability. We worked with the Yinka Dene Alliance on the Freedom Train. I don't know if you guys heard about that. We did the PR for that. So it started in Jasper, and the train went across Canada and stopped at various cities along the way to rally First Nations and community support against the Enbridge pipeline project and what they consider to be the lack of appropriate consultation with First Nations communities up north. Incredibly successful, incredibly rewarding for us as well. And it was an opportunity for us to apply our values in a number of different ways. So supporting First Nations empowerment, but also reflecting our own concerns about the pipeline development process, specifically before the changing government as well. Sometimes I just want to move on to talk about sustainability and how it touches other parts of your business. So I know a lot of people that are even sustainability consultants who drive their SUVs to work every day and don't really walk the talk, because sustainability is a bit fashionable right now, let's face it. And a lot of companies and organizations are recognizing the brand benefits of being sustainable. So I really believe that you have to walk the talk. And there's a number of ways that I do that, or that our company does that. One is buying local. So we're members of LOCO. If you folks, I don't know if anyone here is a member of LOCO. And if you, it's great for networking, by the way. If you're progressive business people, it's a great place to meet other local businesses that are doing remarkable things in every sector you can imagine, from food to architecture and development to paper production and all sorts of other industries. But it's not just about networking. So I buy from local members. We get our office supplies from Mills because they're a local company. And we collaborate with other suppliers who are also local members, graphic designers and printers and other service providers. So we're keeping money in our community. It's greener to source your materials and your labor locally rather than going to another city. Although with the advent of online tools, it is easier to provide consulting services. But when you're talking about stuff, supplies, things that you need to run your business, I highly recommend choosing local. Also, even though I'm confessing and I drove to this meeting this morning, I walk to work every day. I've chosen an office that is 20 minutes from my home, so I walk to and from work every day. So my car is usually in front of my home. The same goes for most of the folks that work with me. They're either within walking or transit distance. We're on main transit routes, etc. So that's a really obvious and easy way to make an impact. Also, sustainability in terms of who you hire to work with you. So who are your subcontractors or collaborators? I've already touched on this a bit around local suppliers, but in my case, I choose to work with people who share my values as well, because they're representing my brand and my company, so that needs to be reflected in how they work with my clients as well, and even the kind of values they bring to the work that we do. It's not helpful to me to work with people that don't share my values, because it's not going to be reflected in the product. How your choices can influence and inspire change. I think that's really important. And I was chatting with Cynthia about this earlier as well. In the progressive or sustainability community, it can be a little bit insular. You know, we kind of hang out with each other, and it's self-reinforcing, and you know, we agree with each other on everything, and it's all good. But if we're going to change the world, we actually need to spread the message to a much broader community. And so by choosing to work on sustainability issues, run your business in a sustainable way, and develop those networks, you're actually modeling success. So I don't like this idea that because we're sustainable and values-based businesses that somehow that we can't make money, or that we're not successful business people. And that is a bit of an assumption, or it's almost an assumption that I'm not going to make money, but that's okay because I'm doing good. And so let's break that mold, and let's show people that you can run a successful business and run it in a sustainable way. Having the validation of that success, so looking at other successful, sustainable enterprises, I'm sure we can name some, you know, right now that you know off the top of your head. It validates our choices as well. You know, in our culture, we like to have other people that are doing the same things we are. We don't like to be the odd person out. And so the more businesses that are making these choices, the more it's going to make us feel good about the choices that we're making. From a marketing communications point of view, it's a sustainable, values-based business is a great differentiator for you. It really sets you apart from your competitors. And you, of course, as I said earlier, you have to walk the talk in order for it to really make a difference. But I don't think, in my own experience, I don't think I have a lot of direct competitors, because I've modeled a certain way of doing business that is kind of unique to me. And people look at my client list and they get a sense of who I am as a person. I think I don't get business because of my values as well. And that's just fine with me, because there are lots of organizations and companies that I don't want to work for. So I suppose you could consider it a risk, but I consider it an opportunity in terms of differentiating yourself and what you do through your values. The other thing that I just wanted to mention, which I do think that a lot of companies that focus on the sustainability and the values-based message struggle with, is delivering on your brand promise. And I know that's kind of marketing language. Do you guys know what I mean by that? That you can say you're sustainable and that you're doing all this great work, but if it isn't delivered in the customer experience, if people don't experience that when they interact with you every day, it doesn't mean anything. So the more companies that say this is what we believe in and then deliver on it, it's going to strengthen the movement as a whole, I think, and give it more credibility. Then I think it has, the term that pops into my head is greenwashing. There's a lot of that goes on. And we, as progressive values-based businesses, we need to model, as I said earlier, we need to model that success. We need to show that it's possible to prosper and to make responsible choices. So, I just wanted to close a little bit. Leah asked me to touch on marketing your sustainability message. PR, I feel like I need to start with PR because Postmedia just laid off 90 of its editorial staff this week, as you probably heard. The news media business is going through an incredible transition thanks to the digital revolution, and it's contracting the news media, as you can see. It's evident even to people who aren't in the industry. So I wouldn't actually recommend, particularly for smaller businesses, that you're remarketing yourself to think about mainstream media unless you have a really, really big story to tell. The offsetters might have the gravitas for something like that, but for businesses like mine, I'm not going to have news that necessarily that CBC or Global is going to want to report on because with the contraction, they're just able to do fewer stories than they were before. So for businesses like ours, blogging and social media. I don't know if any of you follow me, and this isn't a marketing pitch, but at Lesli Boldt, if you check me out on Twitter. I'm active on Twitter for my business and as well on LinkedIn, and it's a huge, powerful way for me to get my message out. I recently started blogging in the last few months on LinkedIn instead of on my website's blog, and it's driven up my blog traffic enormously. So I would really recommend experiment with some of these different media, but LinkedIn really gives you access to a much broader network organically than you would have if you were just posting it on your own website. Social media is really important, particularly if you're in an area of thought leadership or you're trying to establish yourself in a certain field, and sharing your knowledge with other people, talking about giving and generosity, sharing your knowledge with other people. How you talk about your company on your website, in other materials, even at gatherings like this, really important. I think Brian mentioned his elevator pitch. You're perfect. It's good to have one and to help frame the kind of work you do. If you are working in the green, the tech, the social sustainability area, to have some language in your elevator pitch and how you talk about your business that describes that. It's really, really important. Again, it speaks to what I said earlier about differentiation. Leading by example. I've already touched on this, but I feel it bears repeating. I think that we, as people in that progressive business sector, we need to be the change it's not a Gandhi quote, I think, to be the change that you want to see in the world. You have to model that change and lead by example and show other people that it's possible. I think there's a lot of people in business that want to be more like us, and they don't know how to get there. And so if we can lead by example and communicate that to people, it'll expand the possibilities, I think. And then people like Leah can come in and actually help people figure out how to operationalize that. And walking the talk. So being consistent. If you say that this is what you are, what your business is about, and what you believe in, it needs to be reflected in all of the choices that you make, and even including what you share on social media, for example, what you tweet, what you share on Facebook. It needs to align with who you say you are, so that people believe you and take you seriously. So that's kind of it for me. I'm open to any questions that you might have. Yeah, of course.
I have a question. Where's Vancouver Farmers Market? Where's the place?
Oh, it's in markets all over the city. So